Bro.
It's like, action.
Hey
guys. Welcome to the Adulting in Fashion podcast with your hosts,
Jas
and D'on. So today we'll be talking about a struggling assistant with an executive mindset.
One of my favorite ones, honestly.
Yeah, me too. Like, it's so relatable.
And not just that, we both came in literally with executive mindsets into our fields.
Like, no, for real, I really thought I was going to be changing something groundbreaking, be like, come out with the #1 bestseller product.
No, literally, like, people hearing me, like, walking into the room, like, yeah, and they're like, that's amazing, Jas. Yeah, no.
Nope. So we're going to talk all about that.
Yes. Okay, so let's hop right in.
Yeah.
So I guess we can start off basically our reality, school versus actually working in design straight after. And I kind of can speak too on this moment, coming straight out of it. So me, like, going through school and fashion school specifically. First off, there's gonna be a lot of ghetto slang in this podcast. But yeah, just working alone, solo, just through fashion. And there's like here or there, and you can relate to, like, with projects that we'll work on where we'll collaborate. But in the meantime, leading up to, like, graduating, you're expected to kind of do your own project, final collection. And so, like, working just solo and then transferring that all the way into working in the industry, and knowing that you're not the last person to say so, and also, like, starting what working on a project, it doesn't, like, transform into reality straightforward. Even though design is like that, like, it's a constant, like, reiterations before you get to the final design, but your initial first idea literally changes from so many different ends and different people putting in collaboration. And so, so walking in thinking that, like, your words matter, and it doesn't turn out like that.
At all. And it's also crazy because you can pitch an idea or whatever, or come up with a concept in, a corporate career setting.
Yeah.
And it literally has to go through 6 to 10 different people, executives, higher ups, presidents, whatever.
Yeah.
Before it can actually become real and into production. Literally what you have could be completely different from the outcome. It can either be like a very extremely watered down version of what you had, which is probably the worst and most insulting thing ever.
It is.
As a designer. Or you can have something that is not at all what you expected.
And you're not even... Sometimes you're not happy with. You're like, dang, it could have been better. But if the team feel like it's great, it's great. But then it honestly become one of the top leading moments. Like, as far as, like, retail, like landing at retails, and it's like one of the highest, products sold. And then you'd be like, okay, that's a humbling moment.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like you just think, like, I think it looks so much better if it was had this touch or had this finishing or this colorway or whatever.
Yes. And I feel like in a way too is that school is just like the way how they structure us, in a way is almost like, I don't know, like, I feel like they structure us in La La Land versus reality, because there's a lot of courses where I feel like they can touch on more versus what they pay attention more closely to, like our mindset and detail and leading as, like, that creative director eye approach versus the actual true reality, because at the end of the day it comes down to, can we afford it?
Yeah. And I feel like that's something that is not taught at all in school, because I think definitely the perspective of school and design, especially when you're working on your collection or working on project, it's like, it's just you.
Yeah.
And it's like whatever your creative vision is, like if you were designing for your company or your brand or whatever, that's kind of how school pitches the ideas, and that's how you, like, function. And same within critique. Like, I'm going to say, like, the critiques are not as helpful sometimes, depending on who it's coming from. but it's not like it's for you to get better. It honestly depends on the professor, because some critiques are helpful and be like, oh, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
Like, that's really helpful. And then some of it's just very, very opinionated, and not all in a way to direct you to help you to make your collection better or find improvements. It can just be tweaking it for their liking.
Oh yeah, but honestly, it kind of rolls into fashion, to be honest, when you collaborate with. Like, there has been moments where, you know, I thank, you know, the fact that we went through critiques in school, because it built like such a strong like armor for me. So like, you know, when those
prepared for saying no.
Yes, and those critiques from other members where it doesn't team members where it doesn't make you feel like you're not a great collaborator. So like listening to like, you know, all of that, even when it's like petty stuff, like literally little stuff that you're like, oh, that's just their opinion, they just want me to do it that way. But a lot of that has stuff to do in the industry too, because I can say the amount of products that I worked on and launched with my team and the items that I own have been tweaks and, you know, reiterations from, you know, outside opinions, and, you know, I had to kind of humble myself and just accept that and be a great collaborator. But yeah, I feel like a lot of what we do in school, especially critiques, does prep us for the industry, at least, because it puts up that strong armor. However, as far as like that mindset of how to critique, it needs to work on. Because as you can know, when we're in the industry, people still give poor critiques.
Yes.
So I feel like that should be worked on.
Yeah. Or just be like, I just don't like it. I just don't like it. And it's like, but why don't you not like it?
Exactly. So I feel like if we worked on that in school more, maybe that would bring the industry together stronger. For critiques. So that's true.
But also, like, in a critique perspective, like, when in the industry, like, when someone gives a critique, I can see why they're giving the critique, because they're like looking for it to be more commercialized.
Yes.
Or for it to fit a broader range of consumers, and not just one particular consumer.
Yeah.
So I understand that. However, in school, it's like, who's the consumer? You don't know who the consumer is. And it's like who you're designing for.
Yep.
Sometimes they don't teach you who you're designing for, which I feel like that's a huge problem.
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I learned that early on. You need to know your consumer and who you're designing for, and the reason why. You can't just design a collection just because you like it, or just because, like, oh, I saw Valentino do a collection with a bunch of flowers and I thought it was cute.
Yep.
No, you can't do that. Like, you have to have a story and a meaning behind it, and an influence.
And also, I believe too, it was always like a up and down that I've seen too throughout my journey through school, is that I feel like also professors, deans, whatever, that's critiquing or giving advice to their students, is that making them feel okay to go down the commercial route or the corporate route. Because honestly, don't you want your students to get paid to pay you back?
Right.
Like, to me, I feel like either way where you land, and we're like a walking testimony because you worked in ready to wear, true and fashion, and I worked in that corporate aspect, and like, it's okay to take that route, because at the end of the day, you know, you both go land in a great place and you go learn from so much others. But I had moments where, you know, where I got questioned, like, okay, so are you trying to work commercial, or are you gonna work like, you know, you want your own brand in real? And I'm like, babe, I'm trying to make money.
Right.
Because I'm in debt from you.
Exactly.
Commercial.
It's just, so. But I feel like also another standpoint, like, when it comes to, say, like, the portfolio that you produce and stuff like that, like, you come up with these crazy concept ideas or whatever, but when you're actually pitching it to a company, they don't care.
They really don't.
Want to see, can you commercialize this concept? Can you commercialize this aspect? Come up with different colorways. Yeah. Pitch to our consumer. Like, can we do that? Is it sellable? Yeah. Can we make money? If you can't do that, then unfortunately you're not going to get the job.
Yes. And also, who are you trying to work for? That's another thing. Yeah. So right away, I feel like that should be like part embedded, is figuring out earlier, where do the students see themselves going, and later, you know, molding their project into like the company where they see themselves applying towards.
Right.
Because, like, we can say, like, if you want to work in a sportswear brand, I mean, you don't want to have evening gowns throughout your portfolio.
Right.
And, you know, and it can land in Vogue. Amazing. But you're applying to a sportswear company. Oh, they're going to say, that is amazing. You still didn't get the job.
Right.
Because they don't, to them, they don't see that you have that technique in that sportswear versus, you know, and same thing, vice versa, with evening wear, like, and ready to wear. But you're coming with a portfolio that's all sports.
Right.
Like,
so it's, yeah. And then also it's like, when you're pitching your idea, like, I mean, like you said, you can't just pitch a sportswear idea to an evening wear company or vice versa.
Exactly.
So, and it's like you have to really tailor and niche your portfolio to that brand and to liking.
Yeah.
So, but it goes same with the meetings and too, stuff like that. Like, unfortunately, when you're an assistant, your voice does not matter.
At all.
Which is really sad.
I know. And it's like,
hurtful sometimes.
Yes.
I remember my feelings got hurt a little bit when I was just like, I would pitch something I would think is a really good idea.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, it's a great idea, but we can't do that.
Yeah. But thank you
just
for your
won't fly
input.
here.
Thank you for your input.
Right. And it's like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
And also the thing that kills me is because a lot of these companies are trying to market to Gen Z consumers.
Yeah. I mean, they're hot in demand right now.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm a Gen Z. So it's like, who better not ask than a fellow Gen Z to see what you want from a company. And
that ties back to, you know, unfortunately, it doesn't matter what top school you graduated from. If you had got, you know, your master's, your bachelor's, your PhD, it all matters about the years and experience. And that plays into, like, your voice in that room. And, you know, for me, you know, coming in, you know, I'm not going to say I was bamboozled, but different companies have different structures and design as far as rankings. And for me, coming in, you know, fresh out, having my master's, I knew I didn't sit or wanted to take opportunities around that interning and assistant route because, you know, been there, done that. I needed a little bit of something a little bit more slightly advanced where I'm not going to get easily bored. And I want to feel more challenged. And so for me, you know, taking the role that I have now, my role technically sits as both assistant and associate. So I'm assistant behind a lot of designers, but I'm also owning into products and having, like, you know, I have to, like, manage that section, you know, for myself, but still having that oversee over my senior. But I'm typically, you know, running that category for myself and making sure it hits in production line. And if I know what I know, you know, yes, it's a good starting point, but at the same,
you gotta start somewhere.
You gotta start somewhere. And for me, taking that, it was starting somewhere. I forgot where I was. Where was we going? Designer brain.
Yeah.
What was the next moment? What was we on? What was the topic?
Your voice doesn't matter the amount of years. I mean, continue going on that topic.
Yeah, so basically, it doesn't matter, like any of, like, where you sit at. It's amount of the year. So sitting in my position, like, by me just, now I'm hitting 2 years in. And I'm in a way feeling like I earned, like, 2 stripes and everybody's, like, patting me like, welcome to the team. Versus
like,
when you made it through. And, you know, you have industry experience and it's checked on your resume now. I'm golden. I'm sitting. And, you know, my words kind of matter now versus when I first came in, they were like, yeah. Like, they're not, you know, they don't see that, like, what I'm putting down is legitimate facts and it can work because I don't have, you know, 3 to 5
multiple years.
Multiple years behind me, which sucks.
Yeah, it really does suck. And it's like, there's so many kids out here, I don't want to say kids, but so many people out here that have, like, great ideas.
Yeah.
And they are fresh out of college.
Yeah.
You know, and
but it's funny that you say kids because to me, I feel like they look at us like kids. Like,
they do.
Even at grad school,
yeah.
They're getting shocked. They thinking I'm, like, literally 22. I'm about to be pushing 30.
Right.
And you're talking to me crazy like a kid.
Like, and then I get offended. It's like, oh, like, I'm in my mid-20s. Like, chill out. Like,
right. Or I need this.
I mean, yeah, I look young, but, like, you know, but I'm not. Like, you know, I mean, I still am. But
you
But yeah, that's the thing that's like really frustrating because just because you're an assistant, like I feel like you get belittled a little bit in the industry.
100%.
Because when I first started working, I thought that I was gonna really be like helping out, designing, contributing, because that's what they told me in the interview.
Yeah.
And then when I actually got to the job, I was doing a whole bunch of like administrative computer work.
Literally, they could have hired anybody random.
No, honestly, it's stuff
with
that the other designers can do. It's like to clean up boards, to clean up the sample room, to clean up the design space, or pick up the shoes, throw shoes away, stuff like that. It's like that's something that everyone else could do and pitch in or whatever. I don't think that they need a specific person just to do all of that. You know, that's not necessary. That's just a waste of time and talent.
And to me, when it comes to all of that, and thank God the company that I joined, a lot of that on different teams was not like that, and I got to see that as well.
And I feel like it's common in New York.
Yeah, and it's like, it's okay because everybody does it together because you're a team.
Right.
But, and also, if you're going to put that expectations on your assistants, at least have some type of structure where you're showing them the next step to gaining to get that promotion. Like, so there should be a little bit of work on the side or a project on the side that's going to show them, you know, in a way that they're ready for that next position versus just always giving them administrative work and there's no leading goal to get, because they have to work a little bit into that next position in order for them to see that they're ready for that next position. So if you're giving them every day for the next couple of years, cutting out, you know, paper and typing in Google Docs or whatever, I don't know.
Right. But explain to me how cutting paper, cleaning up boards applies to you becoming a better designer.
That's true.
Because that doesn't.
It doesn't. And so that's where, for me, there needs to be some type of structure where, yes, you're getting a little bit of that, but at the same time, you still getting a lot of like that growth of building them to the next position. So to that next associate role, like working, giving them like, you know, a small, you know, category or like a couple of two items, design a shirt or design a pant, so it can show and then let it grow from there.
Yeah.
And so again, I think a lot of that, like, yes, that work needs to be done. We all understand that. That's just like going into retail. And, you know, you're saying like, you know, I really don't want to, you know, unpack boxes. I just want to sell to the customer. At the end of the day, that work needs to get done. You know what I mean? So as a team, yes, or, you know, having that person in place while everybody else manage that other part of the business, yes, but also letting them, you know, mingle with the other, you know, having that experience to work with the customer. So there's a balance of both, so there's growth.
Yeah.
So for me, that's, you know, that work needs to be done at the end of the day, you know. And that comes back to, you know, if you're in college and you only did college and know, like, you know, job, you haven't worked in the field, just like even retail or working at a food restaurant or something. I don't know, like if you don't have any type of work ethics in you, I think you're gonna struggle coming into it. Because
you're gonna give up easily.
You're gonna give up easily. You're not gonna understand. You go and then you're gonna be challenged, you know, a lot where like by you not actually doing what you thought was reality, it's gonna be hard for you. So I recommend, like, especially like if you're going to school, get some type of experience under your belt, whether it's in your career or not, or shadowing somebody or having a mentor, something where you can understand the small basic things. So when you coming in and you're cutting, you're like, whatever. As long as you're not making that your main job. Like if you're not seeing like a lot of like, there's no growth or you not being handed extra things on the side to like further develop you other than cutting out some paper, then you can have some conversations.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell a lot to, like, you know,
I had to do that. Like, I would be like, what else can I do?
Exactly.
Like, because I can design, I can do this, I can do that, I'm able to do category, lineup, X, Y, and Z.
And I've seen your work. Phenomenal.
Thank you.
Chef kiss.
And it's like me doing these mundane tasks. I understand everyone has to do it.
Yeah.
The job has to get done. However, I could be doing so much more.
So much more.
And that leads me into the next point I want to talk about is like, because sometimes as an assistant, you're not given as much work.
Yeah.
You have more free time to kind of do other things and other projects.
That's so true.
Yeah. So, because I did not sign a non-compete.
Amazing.
Job, which probably was the smartest thing I could have done.
The smartest thing anybody could.
But the dumbest thing that the company would have done.
Okay.
I did a lot of competitions and work outside of my job.
Yes.
And because I worked in footwear and I did stuff in evening ready to wear, it didn't really compete.
Yeah.
So I was able to design for Ruth Carter, and she was able to wear one of my gowns on the red carpet, which was an amazing experience.
Yes.
There were so many different events I would attend and would leave work early to go to those events.
Love it.
You know, and I would say like, oh, I have research to do or whatever, and like come back and pitch ideas and stuff like that. Like, so I was able to get away with doing a lot of stuff because I didn't have non-compete and I was able to work on things. And honestly, when I worked on those things, I flourished. Like, I felt like I felt good doing those things than my actual job. Which says a lot.
Yeah, it is.
So.
And I love that you touch on that too, because that also gets me into the next point as well too. Is like, for some of us that, you know, walked out of school or like were in school, and you did as well too, working on your brand, being solo into the moment, and all of a sudden you're working on the side, continuing that what you did. Me, in the case, I had to pause things because I was like, you know, I need bills paid. And I need to understand my job because what I was thrown into was a lot. And so I had to manage kind of like understanding and, you know, get affiliated into the work that I was doing to make sure everything that I was doing was right. So, you know, what I was doing on the side was not bothering or tampering and, you know, disrupting what my day-to-day was, which is, thank God my company, they support, you know, us on the, you know, doing our own thing on the side, but making sure like whatever we're doing on the side is not hurting the business. So for me, it was like putting that pause with, you know, I used to work with clients, you know, doing bridal, doing, you know, festival outfits, making money on the side, what they would say, hustling on the side, and, you know, almost close to building my own brand. And I had to pause that because I was like, I need more money, I need more income, and I want to live a different life. And, you know, switching my path in a different environment was different because I was in a way working solo, but also being, you know, that leading factor into the work that I did, and I didn't have to answer to nobody. So like coming in to a workforce where you have to answer to somebody, your boss. And so that was a lot of like, you know, working at an assistant level with an executive mindset.
I mean, who you work for definitely does matter. I think it honestly depends on what lane you go into. Yeah. Like, because if you're really trying to like work your way up and be that design director, like, you know, having the names on your list is going to look really impressionable and make you look good to other candidates for future positions, or even the, you know, the company that you're at, showing that you're very loyal and you're able, you know, the brand identity, you know how the company works and functions, and that's how you can work your way up. Yeah. So, but even if you're just like starting in the industry, you know, figuring out who you want to work for and also what lane you want to work for matters, because 100%. Like, no shade to brands, but like if you wanted to work for what's a brand in the like Calvin Klein. Yeah. You want to work for Calvin Klein, but your ultimate goal is to be like in high fashion, maybe work for like Oscar de la Renta, or like go overseas and work for like Burberry, Valentino, or some high-end designer. You need to be mindful about the brands you choose. Yeah, and the pathway you kind of go down. Yeah. But networking plays a huge factor. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, like, just because you start off at one place doesn't mean you can't get to the next. Exactly. Like, you know. But it'd be more easier to go and approach what you were saying. Yeah, exactly. Because if you had previous experiences, say, at Oscar de la Renta, and you're trying to get to Gucci, like, they were like, okay, you do have luxury brand experience. Exactly. Like, okay, you look like a good candidate for this, you know, and whatever the other criteria they are. But if you're coming from Kohl's, I don't know. They're going to really question. They're going to challenge you. You're going to really have to, and that goes back to portfolio.
you know, and what you're working on, you know, in Kohl's to strengthen yourself. Like, because, you know, in Kohl's they have different brand partnerships that they work with too. So, you know, in a way, you want to tailor your portfolio to what you're targeting, but also just networking in general. Knowing somebody in that area is definitely going to uplift you even more.
Yeah.
But just hopping from luxury to commercial or commercial to luxury.
Mass market.
Yeah, mass market. It's going to be very challenging, I would say.
Extremely. But, and it's like, even when you think about those roles and everything, it's just like, think about what you want to put into the job too. You know, whatever, depending on the ranking that you fall under, it just understanding the brand, the identity, and how you can pitch and contribute to it. Honestly, that's what it is. And it's so hard. It's so hard when you have such great ideas and you want the brand to succeed. But, of course, it has to go through so many people. That water down the idea, or because their approach is more commercialized and more mass market or whatever it may be, it's so difficult to, like,
100%
get the idea out. Or even listen.
No.
In the first place.
Listening.
So
learn how to listen.
But yeah, I feel like that was something I struggled so much. Like, pitching out, I'm like, oh my god, this could be such a great idea. Or even just thinking, because you have to really think of it in a future setting too. It's like, what are the girls going to be wearing in the next year or so? You know, and I feel like with social media, TikTok and everything, trends are changing. Trends are constantly moving and stuff like that. And it's like, I can already kind of foresee, I'm like, this is where it's going to be heading. You know, and it's like, the Gen X's and Boomers are like, no.
Different target market.
Yeah, different target market. They're like, oh, this is not going to work. And then it happens, then they're trying to chase it. And it's like, well, it's a little too late because we already have production out. You know, you can try to chase it, but it's going to come out in the next season when it's already going to be too late. The trend's probably going to die out because these trends can come and go like that on TikTok. You know.
But then you have, you know, that commercial side of everything where they are not too much on trend and they like behind because they're like a trickle down effect, which they would call like the trickle down effect. And for us, it's more of like, what are they doing so we can copy and do the next, but tweak it in our own version. So in a way, you can go down a lane where you're being on top of fashion and a part of that trend and ahead of that trend, and then you could be on the other half where it's like you're slightly behind the trend or you kind of picking it back off of it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And then I guess like the last point we want to point to is like paying our dues.
Yes.
It's like, do we really need to pay our dues if we have an executive mindset?
No. What do you think?
It's hard. Do we want to? No. Do we need to?
Yes.
I love how you said maybe. I said yes. Honestly, and you have to, but you have to understand, like, at the end of the day, like, it needs to be done. And you got to come with the reality of, like, hopefully your goal as you seeing it, unfortunately, that's how it paves out. But as you're growing into that leader, you can kind of be like, okay, I've been there. So how can I perfect it up better where I don't feel that weight on the new person coming in that they have to pay their due to be at the next? You can kind of shift and shape that. So in a way, like, do what needs to be done. But as people are shifting out, we're getting older, we're starting to take on into leadership. What we can do in this moment is kind of shift that narrative of paying dues.
Yeah. And I think that it could come up as being a little bit degrading a little bit, depending on what you are being told to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I become an official executive, putting it out there, I wouldn't have them do all the stuff I had did.
Right.
Because I feel like that's not right, and it doesn't really contribute to your fundamental, like, aspects of design.
Right.
So I wouldn't have them go clean the boards, go clean the rooms, go clean such and such. Like, they're not the housekeeper. They're a designer.
Yeah.
And they belong to stay at the table as well. Like, they, you know.
And they do, but some people come in, though, with, and unfortunately they ruin for it all. Some people come in with thinking that they earned that moment.
True.
So you have
That's
to
true.
humble them a little bit.
That's true, yeah.
So in a way, especially for me, because I came out of that management position, is, breaking it down to them to let them know, yes, this is a part of reality, but this is not going to be your full life every day. Like, I'm going to help you shape to be better. So that's leaning back to being a better leader, to making sure as you, establishing these rules and they have to do kind of that dirty end work, that you're also promising a better outcome out of it as well. So keep highlighting on that, and also putting your hands in it as well, because if they're wiping the board down and I ain't doing nothing, I'm gonna be wiping the board down with them.
But yeah, I mean that's perfectly said, because unfortunately there are people that come into the industry that think from a higher level, a ranking type of thing, they think that they know it all. They think that they're because they got in through such and such,
they don't have to touch it. It's so little below them.
It's below them, or they don't have to work as hard when it's like, you still have to put in the effort, you still have to work, you still have to contribute, do what you got to do and stuff like that. And like, unfortunately, like, because of those people, it's like they kind of ruined it for the rest of the people who actually are there to work hard and be in that job. But obviously, the type of person when you are vetting them.
Exactly.
You got to get their vibe, their sense, their portfolio. It speaks for themselves. Can they even do the work that you are requesting them to do? This says a lot. Yeah.
And I have to shift my answer to that. I'm going to say maybe. Because it honestly depends on the type of person you come in. Yeah. You might have to humble them and they have to pay their dues. But the ones that's coming in like talented, that can take on more,
and proving it
and, willing to take on more. I think those are the people that you should invest your time into, and less, of the busy work, and, actually paving the way for them.
Yeah. Because it's like the stuff that you have the assistant doing, you could do it too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course. 100%.
Like, just because you're a senior does not mean that you don't need to touch the boards.
Exactly.
You don't need to start helping out.
You don't need to unpack.
Stuff.
You don't need to cut. Babe, everybody needs to be doing something.
Everyone needs to contribute.
Okay?
It's going to be much faster if you help as well.
Exactly. Instead of you worried about why Susie was taking so long clipping that board. Well, you could have helped Susie as well.
Right. Literally.
Well, time to wrap it up, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, thank you guys for listening and watching, because we'll be posting this on other platforms.
Yes. So continue to watch and support.
Yes. Download.
Yes.
Do all the things that you have to do for podcasting.
Exactly.
We're learning about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But see you guys next time.
See you in the next episode.
Bye.